Hello and welcome back to another episode of We Are Meant for More. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of bringing to you, her name is Kubra. I am going to leave the last name pronunciation to you. But Kubra has an amazing story, and it's going to be an amazing episode. So welcome.
Hi, Karen. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Kubra, and my surname is quite hard, so yeah, that's great. Ozguvenc. I'm so excited for this episode because I love your podcast, and let's see if we can create more magic and spread the word for your audience as well.
Oh, I know we will. I will. So I'm going to share a little bit about you and who you are, what you do. And it's so unique. So I'm really excited for this. So you are a spiritual artist and an intuitive astrologer with a background in science. Kubra blends art, astrology, and spirituality to guide individuals in aligning their emotions and business with their true nature. So, through your work, you create a sacred space for emotional healing, helping clients achieve success effortlessly. So, how to thrive without the hustle. I love this. And there's more to you, which we'll dive into as we go along. So when I think of astrology, I think of studying the stars and the moon, but I never thought of it as applying to me and certainly not to my business. So this
Oh,
is really exciting. Tell my audience about yourself and what it is you do.
sure, with pleasure. As you say, I'm a spiritual artist and intuitive astrologer. I have a science background and I have a story, a healing story from fibromyalgia and gaslighting. For the ones who doesn't know, gaslighting is a psychological abuse technique. So after years and learning astrology, I understood that both of my healing stories were about a lack of self-worth. So if anyone listening to us and if they go through a fibromyalgia process, I call it process because it is a reconnection process with your self-worth actually. And it's the same with any kind of psychological abuse. If you are disconnected from your self-worth and if you don't live a life that aligns with your energy, with your soul's purpose, then you start setting unhealthy boundaries and you lost your originality, your authenticity, and you start trying to put yourself into wrong frames and try to fit in. It really hurts, and this creates physical reactions such as fibromyalgia or these experiences that we have through the emotional abuses. They are kind of the warnings that trying to tell us, okay, Kubra, you should do something else. That's not where you should be. You are meant for more, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So powerful. So we're actually storing the experiences in our body.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it goes unrecognized, and I think more so that's more often the scenario that people don't link their aches and pains or um, illness to their emotions or to their life experience. How could somebody begin or at least start to recognize that maybe there's a link to what's going on in my body with what's going on in my life?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, we are lucky that we are living in this age because even though your listeners, your audience are spiritual or not, so there are scientific facts, scientific researches that show we have something called fascia, and this fascia restores our emotions. So that emotions we store in our fascia, in our energy plane, it turns into a feelings actually, because an emotion only can stay with us for 90 seconds, but if we store them, if we hold them longer, they turn into feelings. So with those feelings, for example, in we have some classes that are given by medical doctors actually, and they
Mhm.
explain it. For example, we have three different patients with the same pain at the same point in their body. But when we look into the pain closer, beyond the mechanical explanation, we see that they all have different reasons for the same pain. The same joint has a problem. So now, even in medicine, they talk about emotions are the reasons that we have our physical problems. Actually, they're not the reasons, but the physical problems are the emails that we receive from our energetic plane. If we combine science and spirituality and try to give it an easier explanation. So when your energetic plane has something that is not serving you, it sends you signals through your physical body. And for example, if we are talking about a stomach problem, with this problem, it means you have difficulty to digest something that you experience. If you have eye problem, it means that if it's right or if it's left, the explanation changes, but you have trouble to see things in your future. For example, I have an experience around that. I went to many eye specialists, and in 2 years, let's say, each time when I went to a different doctor, they told me different problems. One told me that I have difficulty to see the closer things, and the other said the opposite. Another one said an entirely different thing. Now, I don't have any eye problem at all right now, but at that time in my life, or it's the same with my clients, even with my cat actually, because if you have trouble to see yourself in the near future or in the 10 years of plans, if you have trouble to see them, you might experience difficulty with your vision in your current life. So they are all connected in a way.
That is fascinating. So I'm thinking of it from two standpoints. So if somebody is already in a place where they've now, say, I'll use your example, developed some sort of a digestive problem or even a vision problem, and they think maybe it's from an experience long ago,
Mhm.
what do they do? What can they do to begin the healing process or the release of that?
Well, as a chemist, I should have told that. I'm gonna say this. You should have used your like medicament for sure. So your body should be whole and healthy first of all. Of course, you can use an holistic approach or something else. It depends on the person and their mindset, but after that you should have go to the root cause, because body is the top of the problem that we see. So just healing the body by using medicaments, you just
Mhm.
you just clean the traces, but the water is keep dropping from the rooftop. So even though you clean the floor, if it keeps like falling from the top, you will have the same problem again and again. So what you can do is simple. What you can ask questions to yourself, because your mind and philosophy and thinking is a very powerful tool to heal ourselves.
Mhm.
What is it? Am I having trouble to digest or accept in my life right now? What happened in your current in your life in these days, in this current time? So when you understand that, you will see either it's a problem that you recently started experiencing, or it could be a like long-term problem. For example, I had a stomach problem for years. After tapping into that field in my energetic plane, it
Mhm.
turned into something else. And I think since 2016, I don't have any more stomach problems. Before that, for almost 10 years, I had that problem. And no medication helped me to get rid of it or heal it. So understanding the core reason, and if there is something you can do, in self-compassion, we have two different sides. One is the yin side, and the other is yang side, and the feminine and masculine. We can say it that way as well. Is there any masculine like action that we can take from the perspective of self-compassion? So how I can prevent myself to feel that way again.
What does that look like to you, masculine action versus feminine?
Um, when we talk, like it's like being mind and doing mind kind of thing. So
Mm,
we're talking about compassion's masculine and feminine side. Well, there is a beautiful explanation for that by dear, I forgot the name sometimes, but Christine Neff. She's a wonderful person, and it's her concept actually. And I don't have word by word, but I
mhm,
will give the message, the core message to. So, if we are talking about the feminine side, which comes first, you should ask yourself what you're feeling right now. How can you make yourself feel better in this very moment? And
mhm,
you should find things that will help you, and they shouldn't be related with other people's behavior or reaction. So I might have an argument with someone today and I can feel down and depressed or whatever, and I can ask myself, how can I feel better? The answer shouldn't be, oh, this person come and apologize and this and that. No, it's not a like feminine action. It What we are looking for when we are talking about the feminine side of self-compassion, it should be, oh, I really want to go but to my favorite cafe and have a glass of tea, or have a spa day, or just zap into the TV channels from one to another, or
mhm,
something that only depends you and doesn't require too much. But when we are talking about the masculine side of it, it is like, okay, if this person behaved that way and if it was not right from my perspective, there has to be some certain steps that I could take. I could even
mhm,
set different boundaries and not answer the calls or not meet that with that person, or maybe I can have a conversation with that person and have a clear open communication to explain what happened and why you don't want this anymore. It's up to you. There are plenty of things,
mhm.
but just an example.
Yeah, thank you for that. This is so good. So, so good. So interesting. So we briefly talked about if incidents had happened in the past causing or now manifesting themselves in the body. What are some ways a person can recognize if this is happening to them now? You mentioned gaslighting, or so if somebody's in a situation where this is happening to them now, what might they feel in their body, or what might they be on the lookout? Because I feel like this is so foreign and new to most people. They're like, what? Then my body's going to tell me? Um, what might they experience if they're in a situation that's not serving them well?
Yeah, well, it is so personal, so it could be
Mm,
quite different for each individual. But for example, for me, I know that my gut feelings starts kicking off and trying to tell me something. Most of the time, I don't understand what it is telling, to be honest. But
mhm,
when I see that feeling, I remain there. So here, I cannot tell each occasion, but I can give the best solution for that so that everyone can understand their own tools.
mhm,
I'm sure there has been, like, for many of us, we had such experiences, and after having that experience, when we look back to the past couple of days or hours, we tell ourselves, oh, I felt that and still did not act
Mhm.
the way that my instincts told me. So I use a technique. I don't know if it's a technique, but I this is what I teach to my clients. But
Yeah.
creating equations, I call it that way. So, for example, I recently had some experiences that actually it's not mine, but it's a client's experience. So, the in this experience, my client had an abusive relationship with someone she cared, and she knew that this person was a little bit abusive, but she tried to put the boundaries healthy in a healthy way, so she could have, maintain, like, keep experiencing the relationship that she has been doing since a while.
Mhm.
But of course, an abusive person is an abusive person, and you cannot change the behavior. But there is one important thing here, why you attract this person. And we can see that through the birth charts, actually. That's a very unique way. And the client told me that she had the instinct. She knew that she was abusive. This person was abusive, but she was, as we have been working with her since so long about her abusive relationships, and with not just regular people or friends, but partner as well. So she was kind of testing herself, but then now she's convinced that you cannot change an abusive person and their behavior. So with her, what we did is, when she saw that abusive person for the first time, she had that feeling in her intestines. So the gut feeling shows itself at the lower abdominal. So now she is very certain about that feeling. And this feeling comes when she recognizes those abusive people. So, with this current experience, she saw that very clear, and this is why she tried to set health boundaries. But next time, what she's gonna do, when she recognizes the same emotion showing up in her body, instead of making friends with those people, she's gonna set a different way of boundaries with this person, actually. So creating equations, so defining your emotion when something happened, and
Mhm.
acting differently when you recognize that exact emotion next time in your body, is a very, like, profound experience and solution for such a thing. My cat just jumped over through the computer, so I was kind of distracted. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Your cat's adorable. Oh my gosh. That is it's really powerful because it allows the individual to take at least some ownership um, in what's happening, but it also gives them the power to do things differently. Um,
Absolutely.
I know for myself, I'm more in tune now to listening to my gut, but years ago, growing up, I would get that little gut feeling. It would tell me, "Ooh, I don't know about this." Oh, well, do it anyway. So, I really hope people are hearing the message in that your body lets you know when
Yeah.
something's not right for you.
Actually, I'm curious, how does that work for you? How does your body talk to you?
Oh gosh. So I feel it right there, like in my gut. Is that the solar plexus region?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something will hit me right there that when I know I don't feel good about this at all. And I've learned to listen to it. But it's now it seems so clear. Even
Yeah.
that feeling like when something's not safe, if I'm somewhere, I'm like, I'm gonna get out of here. This doesn't feel right. That energetic exchange is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's amazing how wise your body, our bodies, and they're able to talk to us in their own unique ways actually. And well, most of the time with some certain emotions, the bodies give these certain reactions. Following
Mhm.
it really helps to many people that I work with actually.
So how do you, and I'm going to read what caught my attention. So using art and astrology together, you offer a space that facilitates emotional healing without interference from the nervous system's memory patterns.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I love the sound of that, the memory patterns. What does that all mean right there?
Well, let's start with a question. Do you know that you're a psychic?
Ooh, Um, I feel like the answer's supposed to be yes, and I feel like a part of me does say yes. I pick up on
Oh,
stuff.
you feel free, please.
I
Well,
I feel like I get some little hits that are like, huh, but not anything clear or not anything that's like, hey, I'm gonna start reading people's futures here.
well, there are different type of psychics, so that's okay. That's a good answer. Thank you. And do
Okay.
you have any kind of emotional patterns in your life that you can remember? We all do, but
Yeah. So by emotional patterns, just give me a little more direction on that to make sure I understand the question.
like experiencing the same thing, the same emotion again and again, but not being sure what is creating that emotion, why, or this experience itself. So, sometimes we all have those experiences and we don't understand why is it always happening to us, and there is no logical or rational explanation to this kind of things. And or it could be something like I have a lot of people around me, like two good friends, and then there is this third person. Actually, there are three good friends, but one of them always feels like out of the circle, even though she's not. So this, when you look into that person, she usually experiences this exact emotion. So lefting outside alone. So this
Mhm.
is an emotional pattern for this person, for example. It could be anything. Yeah.
I would say it's a pattern of always feeling like um she can do that. That's fascinating, but I could never do that. Or, that's for someone else, not for me. And always playing a little bit smaller than I envision myself playing. So just living a little bit more under the radar than I would like to, particularly with my business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great thing. So this is why you create those emotional patterns for each of us. Basically, if we channel information consciously, we call ourselves psychics because we know that we channel information from the collective or from the universe somewhere, doesn't matter. But if we do that unconsciously, so we still connect to those parallel universes and channel some emotions and bring them here because subconsciously or our higher self knows that we are strong enough to help our different versions who has which has lower frequencies than we do. So our ultimate purpose is bringing all those different timelines and different versions of ourselves and stop judging our alternatives in different timelines, let's say. So what we do is kind of channeling those emotions to help ourselves in different dimensions. And when we do that thing unconsciously, we use that flow to create patterns in our lives so that we can work on those emotions, we can set them free and transmute them. So not just us here in this plane, but also in different dimensions, our different versions could have a quantum jump, let's say. And I do channelings through my paintings. I do that since my childhood, since the time I was able to hold a pen, basically. But I started sharing those with people because when you look into a painting that I channel and you don't know anything about the story of the painting, you don't know what you should feel, but we have group programs or one-on-ones that we work with paintings, for example, with all of them, with that, all those paintings make those people to see and align with certain energy. And by aligning that energy, because I put those emotions on the canvas with an interpretation, actually. So art is an interpretation of energies. It doesn't have to be a special way. Every artist channel their art. And when you tune into that painting, you start seeing things through your own emotional lenses.
Okay.
So emotions, imagine that I have a pen here. Well, this is a transparent one. I love it. But if 30 people, 100 people, or some number of people would see it, they all would feel differently about this pen. Because our perception is shaped by our emotions. So we see the world through those lenses, those emotions. So if this looks good to you, you probably match this with good memories or energies, or it will remind you something good. If this reminds you a bad memory that your dad has something similar to this one, and one day you stole his pen and you broke it, and then he get mad, and then of course, even though you don't remember this pen, when you look into that, you will hate it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So when you tap into or tune into a painting, you simply see it through those lenses. And the more you tune into it, it's a spiritual process. But without remembering the memory, whatever emotion is, whatever it is, that emotion you are holding in your chest, on your shoulder, you start revealing it, releasing it. And this is a great way of doing it because when we start talking about a bad memory, so
Mhm,
well, I don't like calling it trauma. I love calling it experience. When
mhm.
you're talking about an experience, you actually create neural pathways around that subject. So to be able to heal a trauma or experience, you need to get rid of or transmute those emotional baggage,
Mhm.
this data at the same time, and you need to recharge, rewire these neural pathways. And you need to change your thought process, behavior. So most probably, it's our life is an outcome of that four thing, like a blend of those four things: our beliefs, our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior. But when
Mhm.
you have to recharge or work on those neural pathway, for example, thought process or behavioral process, at the same time with the emotions,
Mhm.
from my experience, I can tell it is taking way more time than we do without nervous system interfering to the healing process. So of course we work with it as well, but once you do the release the emotional baggage, and then if you focus on the neural pathways and behavior and thought process, the journey gets easier and more joyful.
My goodness. Do your clients actually become the artist? Do they release through painting or you do? Okay.
I do the paintings,
Mhm.
so there are certain paintings that I channel. I keep channeling since it's like my life story, and I with my clients those paintings, and we work on their experiences through those paintings actually. So they don't do the painting.
Okay. Oh my gosh. And you, through your channeling and through your art, you actually get a better understanding of their story and what the emotions are that they're holding on to in that regard.
It is like I channel something. I don't know what it is. I
Mhm.
carry something heavy in my chest, but a painting is a blend of several emotions. So, but in my exhibitions, for example, there are people who comes to visit me and they say, "Oh, I'm like an engineer. I'm not into art or spirituality," but they start talking about the painting, and it is just what I was trying to express in the painting. Or some people comes and they say, "Oh, I'm spiritual, but I'm not into art or this." But we all, yeah, we all see this, feel differently when we see that, but we all see
Well,
that there is a pen. So I just give the pen and they focus on how this pen make them feel.
this is so fascinating. So fascinating. Um, and then how does somebody combine this? So I love that you help someone thrive or reach a level of success without the hustle. That's probably a very new concept for many of the listeners to even hear because we've been taught that you have to grind and go and work harder and work harder. How does one achieve success without the hustle? What does that look like?
Well, there are several parts of it, but today we can focus on at least one or two of it.
Sure.
First of all, I love that our emotions are our golden compass and they lead us to our highest potential.
Mm,
So, by focusing on one's emotions, they actually allow themselves to reconnect with their self-worth. Because, how can I say it easily? Everything that we hustle is something that shows us we are disconnected from our self-worth for some reason. And most of the time, the story is there is an imbalance between feminine and masculine. And to be able to do that, we should see where does that come from. And the hustle mentality, we are living in a patriarchal age that taught us everything can be possible only we are in the doing mindsets.
mhm.
So from this perspective, we shouldn't have see people, especially let's talk about the entrepreneurs. I have a lot of clients that has checklists. They have super detailed and amazing plans. They check everything on the list, but they still are not at the place where they're supposed to be. And they feel like the universe is not supporting them, not there for them, or the God is not taking care of them. Right? It's not true. The story is our emotions are there to navigate us in our journey. We can use astrology for that. It's way more shorter until we learn how to work with our emotions, or if we are already mastered that, how to work with the emotions, I mean, we can go through it and see that all the things that we hustle in our lives, as I said in the beginning, actually an interpretation of the energy flow that we have. So if we don't have the energy flow that we meant to have, that creates either hustle, lack of abundance, or we can say manifestation problems. And
Mhm.
once we do that, for example, let's talk about business if you're okay with that. We all have a different business definition actually. And this can be a little bit tricky for some people to hear that, but Many people says, oh, you should be aware of time that you work and you spend your time, like personal time, family time. I am not someone who likes separating them. Because in my business definition, a business is not something we do for a living.
Mm.
In my definition, a business, especially if we talk about entrepreneurship, it is something that we journey through our soul and connect to our, because for myself, I'm the first person in my family, in my entire family, who became an entrepreneur. And it was so hard after having a paycheck to paycheck 9 to 5 job, becoming an entrepreneur and asking for money from each individual that I work with, or asking for help from my husband or from my friend or family, either for a technical thing or something else. It was super hard. You know, in the past, there were these amazing monks meditating in the caves and, having the enlightenment. But, Karen, you also know that, I'm sure, having your business connections with flow and not getting mad
Mhm.
is something you cannot experience in a cave, even though you meditate for ages. So,
Mhm.
being able to run your entrepreneurship life is something, actually, it's a journey
Mhm.
to understand where you have difficulty to navigate yourself in your emotional turmoils, because we all are in social media. And
Mhm.
sometimes some people comes and they have a bad day and they just want you to have one and put a very ugly comment onto your post, and you don't even understand why really. Yeah, that's why actually we attract them. We attract them to create a resilience in that field. We attract those people who doesn't show up or book a session, because we need to learn how to be compassionate in the feminine and masculine ways, not for
Mhm.
just for self to the self, but for others as well. So especially in entrepreneurship, I find it a cosmic journey that we align with our Venus and Moon centers, because our Venus center and Moon center, they're about our emotions. It's about abundance, give and take, and balance and creation. So once we align with them, we allow our inner light to shine and we emanate more and more the, each day, actually.
Mhm.
And that's where the hustle mentality lives and abundance and joy comes in.
Yeah, that makes sense. I completely relate. And that word alignment, really paying attention to what feels like it's in alignment with you. It used to feel like if something didn't work out, it was so incredibly frustrating. Or now I just take those things with like, ooh, I wonder what direction that's sending me in now. Like if that didn't work out, we go this way. That's going to be interesting. Or it's like a plot twist because now it's taken me in another direction. I was going down the wrong road.
Yeah.
So it's all in kind of the interpretation too, and listening to what feels in alignment versus that hustle, which was push, 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 no matter what, how it felt. It didn't, and if it required that much pushing, it didn't even jump out at me that probably wasn't the right door that I was knocking on.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And
So
I don't know if
even,
you experience it even with clients. Go ahead.
oh, sorry, I think there were an internet cut off, so please go ahead.
No, you go. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt your thought.
No, just I was just thinking something else, but please go ahead. I think
Mm.
I would like to listen to you first.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, even with clients, that it's okay to feel like the client isn't a good fit or we're not a good fit for the client because even forcing something like that just because somebody wants to sign a client, it's just not going to work for either party. It's going to be an energy drain and it's not going to be effective.
Absolutely. And the energy drain that client creates in your life actually creates way like it costs too much than this client pays, because I tried it for myself in the big first years of my entrepreneurship. So I had this goals to hit and everything in these first years that I don't do it anymore. And when a client comes, I was in the heroic mood. Oh, if she comes to me, this means that I should have helped her. No, no, I'm not a hero. I'm not the god. Let's not play the god here. Right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I have all the right to say no to someone as much as they have the same right to say no to me when they ask for a service. They don't have to work with me. But this hustle mentality is kind of pushing us to do that. And I think with the Aquarius age, as you know, we are in the Aquarius age astrologically, and that means before this written patriarchal age, written history, we had the matriarchal age. And then now the femininity is awakening, but not to create a matriarchal age, but to create an age that we're going to explore both the
Mhm.
feminine and masculine in a balanced way. So that's why people like you and me and many like us, we are becoming together and sharing our light and sharing our thoughts so that people can see their light and allow themselves to embrace both feminine and masculine sides.
Mm.
And you know, if we do something from the masculine, we will need the motivation on the road. So every day we will have a lack of motivation, or in each difficulty, we will feel like, okay, I cannot do that anymore. But when something starts with feminine and with inspiration, you don't need this lack of motivation. Yes, you might struggle when some emotions hit so strong, but the
Mhm.
inspiration still remains there, and you figure out what that emotion trying to tell you, and then you keep walking through this purpose. And I think with our businesses, we are journeying through our soul's purpose, and we should have find a way that our businesses is not to create a life like not, it's not something we do for a living. It should be something we do to experience ourselves and to expand our consciousness. So this is why I created a unique way that aligns with my chart. So instead of
Mhm.
separating it into a couple of things, I created a special blend for myself. This is what I love in my life, actually.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Um, is there anything I'm not asking you about, anything that is important to mention here in this conversation that we haven't covered? This is
Oh,
so good.
I trust the flow. So I think
Yeah.
everything you meant to ask were asked. So thank you.
Who is the ideal person that could benefit from working with you? Because we've covered a lot, and I'm thinking the person who, whether it's emotions that are being stored in the body or someone with aches and pains or someone on the entrepreneurial journey. I mean, there's so many people that could benefit from what you do. Who's the ideal person that you say, these are the people that I love to work with and I'm so good at helping?
I love working with people who struggles in their entrepreneurial journey, basically. Either they started it or they're not sure what they should do. I really love working with those people because it is a unique way of exploring their purpose. And doing that in an aligned way is really makes a difference. And when I witness something like that, it is one of the most joyful time for me to experience. So if there is any entrepreneur who struggles to maybe financially, or maybe you are on Instagram, for example, I took too many trainings around social media or this or that, but I don't do any of the things that I learned, because if I do that, I would burn myself out. So knowing that allows me to stay calm and
Mm-hmm.
focus on things that are working for me. So even creating a funnel. Yeah, for example, Instagram is the most popular social media tool for many of the people, but for some people, it's not good for their chart. So we choose a different item instead of Instagram. So if there is something who struggle to manage their energy, or if they have a lot to offer but they don't know how to do that, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to work with them.
So good. What is the best way for people to reach out to you or to find you?
It's on Instagram or my website. I'm pretty reachable, so both are my name and surname. It's Kubra Ozguvenc on Instagram and kubraozguvenc.com on internet.
Okay. Yes. And we'll have all this information too in the show notes and the spelling of everything. So, oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being here. This has been amazing and incredibly powerful episode.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure to be your guest, and looking forward to seeing our episode airs.
Absolutely. And to the audience, thank you so much for being here for another episode of We Are Meant for More. And please share this with anybody you think might benefit from this amazing information. Kubra, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much for having me.